when Mark rescued a tiny, abandoned kitten trembling in the rain. He never imagined what would happen next. The moment his loyal German shepherd, Max, laid eyes on that fragile creature, time seemed to stop. What followed wasn't instinct or training. It was pure, unexpected love that no one saw coming. The rain poured relentlessly that evening, drumming against the pavement as Mark hurried through the nearly empty parking lot. He was on his way home after a long day when a faint sound made him stop, a tiny, desperate meow coming from behind a trash bin. Curious, he stepped closer, his shoes splashing through puddles. There, inside a damp cardboard box, was a trembling orange kitten, its fur soaked and matted. It was so small, its cries barely louder than the rain itself. Mark's heart clenched. Someone had abandoned it, left it to survive the storm alone. He crouched down, gently lifting the fragile creature into his hands. The kitten shivered, letting out a weak mewl as it pressed against his palm for warmth. Mark sighed, glancing toward his car. "All right, little one," he murmured softly. "Let's get you out of the cold." He didn't know it yet, but this rescue would change everything. As Mark drove home, the tiny kitten curled up inside his jacket, barely moving except for the soft rise and fall of its fragile breaths. He glanced down, feeling a mix of tenderness and worry. There was one thing that kept nagging at his mind. Max was his 3-year-old German shepherd, loyal, intelligent, and fiercely protective. A trained guard dog who took his duty seriously. Mark had never brought another animal home since Max arrived. He wasn't sure how his big companion would react to this helpless little stranger. When they reached home, Mark prepared a small box with a towel near the fireplace. The kitten meowed weakly, looking around with frightened eyes. Max was still in the other room, unaware of the surprise waiting for him. Mark exhaled deeply, rubbing the back of his neck. "All right, buddy," he whispered, half to himself. "Let's see how you handle this." Mark opened the living room door slowly. Max was lying near the couch, his ears perking up the moment he heard footsteps. His dark eyes locked onto Mark, and then onto the small bundle cradled in his arms. Instantly, the German shepherd stood, his tail stiff, posture alert. "Easy, Max," Mark said gently. "It's okay, boy." He knelt down and placed the kitten on the carpet. The tiny creature blinked at the towering dog, its fur puffing up in fear. A faint hiss escaped its mouth, high-pitched but brave. Max tilted his head, taking a cautious step forward, nose twitching as he sniffed the air. Mark's heart pounded. He could see Max's muscles tense, his instincts on full alert. For a moment, neither moved, the kitten frozen, the dog staring intently. Then, something shifted. Max lowered his head slowly, lying down until his eyes met the kitten's at ground level. His tail wagged once, softly brushing the floor. The kitten hesitated, then took a tiny, wobbling step closer. Mark held his breath. The storm outside had gone silent, replaced by a fragile peace inside the room. 2 souls, one fierce, one fragile, had just taken their first step towards something extraordinary. The tension in the room slowly melted away. The kitten, still trembling, took another hesitant step toward Max. The big German shepherd didn't move. He simply watched, his eyes calm and gentle. Then, to Mark's astonishment, Max lowered his muzzle and gave the kitten a soft nudge, almost like he was checking if it was real. The kitten flinched, then blinked up at him, meowing weakly. Max tilted his head, let out a low, comforting whine, and rested his paw gently beside the tiny creature, as if drawing an invisible circle of protection around it. Mark couldn't believe what he was seeing. The same dog who barked at delivery men was now watching over a helpless kitten like it was his own pup. The kitten inched closer, pressing its tiny head against Max's paw. That night, when Mark placed the kitten in a small box lined with a blanket, Max lay down right beside it, refusing to move. Every time the kitten stirred, Max's ears twitched, his eyes opening to make sure it was safe. As Mark turned off the lights, a smile crept across his face. Somehow, against all odds, a bond had begun, one that neither of them could have predicted. Over the next few days, something beautiful began to unfold inside Mark's home. The once frightened kitten slowly started to recover. Its meows grew louder, its steps steadier. And wherever the kitten went, Max was never far behind. In the mornings, Mark would find them curled up together near the fireplace, Max lying protectively around the tiny ball of orange fur. When the kitten stumbled while walking, Max would nudge it gently with his nose, guiding it back on track. He even brought his favorite toy, a worn-out tennis ball, and dropped it beside the kitten. As if offering a gift. One afternoon, Mark watched in quiet amazement as Max carefully licked the kitten's fur clean, his massive tongue moving with surprising gentleness. The kitten responded by batting playfully at his muzzle, its small paws tapping against his nose. The house, once silent, now echoed with soft meows and the rhythmic thump of Max's tail. Mark smiled, realizing this unlikely friendship had brought new warmth to their home. The kitten had found safety, love, and a guardian it could trust, and Max had discovered a tenderness he never knew he possessed. Together, they were healing each other. One quiet morning, Mark noticed something was off. The kitten, usually playful and full of energy, lay motionless in its little bed. Its tiny chest rose unevenly, and its eyes barely opened. Max sensed it too. He paced anxiously around the room, whining and nudging the kitten gently with his nose, as if trying to wake it up. "Hey, what's wrong, little one?" Mark whispered, panic creeping into his voice. The kitten didn't respond. Before Mark could grab his keys, Max barked sharply, a loud, urgent sound that echoed through the house. It wasn't just a bark. It was a plea. He ran to the door, looking back at Mark, his tail stiff, eyes wide with worry. Moments later, Mark was in the car, the kitten wrapped in a blanket, Max sitting beside him, whining softly all the way to the the clinic. Max refused to stay in the waiting area. He sat by the door, ears pressed forward, listening to every sound. Time felt endless. Finally, the vet stepped out with a reassuring smile. "She's going to be okay," he said. "You got her here just in time." Mark looked down at Max, tears welling up. "You knew," he whispered. "You saved her." A few weeks later, Mark decided to share a short video online. A simple clip of Max and the kitten curled up together on the couch. In seconds, it captured hearts everywhere. The video spread like wildfire, shared across platforms with captions like "Love knows no species" and "The gentlest guardian." Within days, millions had watched their story. Comments poured in. People moved to tears, parents showing it to their children, animal lovers from around the world sending messages of love. Mark smiled as he read one comment that said it best: "This is what pure kindness looks like." As months passed, the bond between Max and the kitten only grew stronger. They were inseparable, eating together, napping together, exploring the garden side by side. What began as a rescue had turned into something much deeper, a story of love, trust, and second chances. Mark often watched them and thought about how life worked in mysterious ways. That night in the rain had brought not just a stray kitten into his home, but a lesson he'd never forget. Sometimes, the smallest creatures awaken the biggest hearts and remind us that compassion can change the world, one act at a time. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true tales of love and kindness. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story that reminds us of the beauty in simple moments. Because sometimes, the smallest act of care can change everything.